Good morning, everyone. This is the Pittsburgh Water and Sewer Authority regular board meeting of July 28th, 2023. The board did meet in executive session, discussion about policies and other updates for the board. No votes were taken. Deb, can we have a roll call?
Sure. Ms. McCormick Barron,
Here.
Ms. Costello, Mr. Domoff,
Here.
Ms. Lever,
Here.
Mr. Martin,
Present.
Dr. Morrell, Mr. Shuley,
Here.
Ms. Strasburger. 5 board members are present. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Do we have any speakers for public comment?
No registered public comment for today.
All right, very good. So the first action is the approval of the meeting minutes of June 23rd, 2023. May I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Peg. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, BJ. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the minutes of June 23rd, 2023, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, the meetings are approved. Move to confirmation of CEO approvals. All CEO approvals from the prior month are confirmed. And we can move to reports and updates. Finance Department, Mr. Barca.
Board and PWSA board members, and happy Friday. Within the finance report, you will see that year-to-date receipts through June 30th, 2023 totaled $98.7 million, or approximately 48% of the total budget. This is led by PWSA's wastewater conveyance, stormwater, and discharges, which have experienced stronger than expected receipts through 2023. Together, they have totaled $39.9 million compared to $35.8 million that was budgeted. Water collections through June 30th, 2023 totaled $56.9 million compared to the total budget of $57.2 million, representing a difference of about $314,000. This small under collection will be monitored by the Department of Finance, and it is expected to reverse in the coming months. Total forecasted year-to-date, total forecasted year-end receipts inclusive of the rate stabilization fund are $210.3 million. This represents an increase of $3.6 million or 1.8% as compared to the budget. Year-to-date departmental operating expenditures are $52.4 million. This is $13.2 million lower than the budgeted amounts. The $37.5 million in debt service costs have been paid year-to-date, which is 49% of the total budget. Forecasted year-end debt service is projected to be $75.6 million, or $919,000 lower than budgeted. This savings is the result of PWSA's recent bond financing transactions. PWSA's cash balance as of June 30th, 2023 was $90.3 million, which is $8.3 million higher as compared to this time in the prior year. And last, I would like to point out to the board a note that we are in the process of gathering and pulling together our 2024 operating budget and our 2024 through 2028 capital improvement plan. It is anticipated that the 2024 operating budget will be presented in November for approval, and followed by that would be the capital improvement plan being presented in December for approval. It is at this time I will turn it back over to the board for any questions. Thank you.
Any questions or comments for Mr. Barca? So with half the year gone, Ed, what do you think has been the biggest surprise so far?
I think cost of inflation has hit us a little bit harder, and I think all utilities are seeing that. We've seen that in prior years, but really starting to see that impact now versus when I thought we would see, which was last year and the year before. So something that we're monitoring, like I said, it's not unique to us, but it is a little bit of a surprise that it's a little bit delayed versus general inflation in the
Right.
economy.
But you're still projecting us to be under budget
Correct.
based on the trend line we're currently on, right?
Yes.
Any other comments, questions?
Yeah, what's been the biggest uptick in inflation? Is it operations or materials,
Both. But
supplies?
it's right now we're seeing it more on the operations front. Last year, the materials side of it really saw the impact just due to supply chain and the demand for certain items. We're seeing that continue, but I see that leveling out to some degree. But we're seeing it on the other end now in operations, professional services costs, wages for those folks. We're seeing that really skyrocket as well. So again, a little surprising to me because I thought we'd see that last year, but we're seeing that impact a little bit more this year.
Very good. Any other questions or comments? All right, thanks, Ed.
Yep, thank you.
We'll move to the engineering department. Mr. King.
Good morning. I'll start over. Good morning, members of our board. This morning, I'd like to begin with an update on our drinking water programs. So I'll start with the lead service line removal program. Continues to replace the active lead service lines throughout the city under our small diameter water main replacement and lead service line replacement projects. We have a total of 10,283 public and 7,184 private side lead service line replacements, which have been completed up through July 26, 2023 across both our capital projects and operations. Forgive my voice today. Progress continues to be made on the design and construction efforts for the water reliability plan, WRP projects. Construction continues on the Rising Main 4 rehabilitation and replacement project, as well as the Highland Reservoir Supply and Rising Main projects in Highland Park. The design and permitting efforts continue on the remaining balance of all of our water reliability plan projects at this time. I would like to note that the Highland Reservoir Pump Station project is out for bid. This is the single largest vertical project that PWSA has undertaken in at least 20 years. Bidding was advertised on Thursday, July 20th for the 4 separate general, electric, HVAC, and plumbing contracts. All are open and out for bid right now. They will be received on Thursday, August 31st at 2 p.m. So that's a 34-day window still remaining for contractors to pick up the bids and assess. I should note that all vendors intending to submit a bid are required to send at least one representative to a mandatory in-person pre-bid meeting that will be held here in this building on Friday, August 4th, 2023 at 9 a.m. It will start here at our 1200 Penn Avenue offices, and then subsequently we will also reconvene out at the pump station site in Highland Park. And that time will be set during that meeting because we'll give a little bit of a break in between. We intend on conducting a full site walkthrough with all the attendees at that time. We anticipate bringing the award recommendation for that bid to the board during our October regular meeting. So we're looking forward to that. As for other procurement activities going on, note that the 2021 large diameter sewer rehabilitation project is also out for bid at this time, where we'll be receiving bids on September 7th. This concludes engineering and construction's July board report. I'll turn it back over to the board for any questions.
Questions or comments from Mr. King? So the new Highland Pump Station, when did it officially go out for bid?
On the 20th of July.
Okay, do you know if anybody's picked up any packages so
There has
far?
been a significant amount of response to it, which we're very relieved to see. We want to see as many contracting firms as possible participate in those 4 contracts. But we've seen some very large and new players, new faces to the game. So
Good.
that's a positive report.
Will there be a selection for construction management services at that time, or how?
That will be separate.
That'll
following
be
up
separate, but would that come to the board in October?
as well.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions or comment? All right, thanks, Barry.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bruce.
Next, we have our Chief Environmental Compliance and Ethics Officer report, Mr. Sederi. You always have the longest title, Frank,
know.
you know.
If we can talk about how that came about to be some other time. So thank you for having me here. So today's reports, I wanted to talk a little bit about safety moments and environmental compliance moments. So 2 Saturdays ago, our engineering department arranged a training that was actually held here in this boardroom itself. We had nearly 60 staff from our construction management, construction inspection, as well as PWSA staff attend this training. And there was a range of topics related to the execution of our lead service line replacement and small diameter water main replacement projects. The training included both environmental compliance and ethics, as well as safety components. And so I wanted to first here take a moment to recognize PWSA staff Darby Neidig for leading the effort and helping get that put together, but also for staff from AECom and Hatch that helped facilitate that training session. I think it was a success, and it was the second one that we had. We had one last year in a similar manner. In addition to all of the construction managers and inspectors that also attended. So we had about 60 folks that sat in this room on part of their Saturday and dedicated that training really to help improve the delivery of our projects. As part of the training session, I provided an environmental compliance related case study to the attendees that was associated with a recent event that had occurred at one of our construction sites. We certainly discussed the technical details of that event, but the key takeaway was the ability and obligation that we all have to identify changes in normal work patterns to assess if that new scope of work requires some type of additional measure to help protect the environment or worker safety itself. So this is that idea of stop work. And we often discuss stop work in regards to safety at the job site, but it is also relevant to our environmental compliance activities. In the case study, there were several different opportunities that were identified where that change in work scope could have had an opportunity to implement measures to help mitigate or even prevent the event from occurring. So we can all really apply this concept of stop work in our daily routines. We often, I think, get used to doing a specific task, and we may not take a moment necessarily to assess that change in our routine. It might mean paying more attention to your surroundings, making an adjustment in your normal process, but a small change really could avoid an incident. It's typical, again, in the engineering and construction industry to have a safety moment or maybe a tailgate at the start of a meeting or a work day. These are versions of stop work where the group itself takes a second to think about a safety related item, to be more aware of a potential hazard and to help mitigate risk from that. Last week, it was last week, I had the opportunity to discuss our environmental compliance and ethics program with the Metropolitan Utility District. It's a peer water utility in Omaha, Nebraska. And in the course of presenting on our environmental compliance and ethics program, I was sharing various tips with them. And one of that tips that I shared with them was the idea of considering doing an environmental compliance or ethics moment as part of relevant staff meetings. And it's something that I do with our trainings that we do here at PWSA and with our construction contractors. This really is another opportunity that we have to stop work briefly and consider compliance or ethics topic to keep in mind as we go about our work day or our work activity. So I consider the compliance and ethics reports actually that I provide to you a version of this stop work concept. Provides an opportunity for the board and the members of public to have a brief moment to think about environmental compliance or an ethics item that might be relevant to the work that we do here at PWSA and how we execute our environmental compliance and ethics programs. So that's my report here for today. As always, contractors, consultants, our staff, and the board are welcome to reach out to me with any questions you have on compliance or ethics. So, questions here today?
Questions or comments for Mr. Saderi?
Oh, just a couple comments. Stop work idea is good. When I was at Generous Electric, that's what we used to call General Electric. We had a standing rule. You didn't flick the switch on anything until all the operators stood in a circle and looked at it and said, okay, you do it. So that's a good thing. I'd like to add to your shout outs. There's a president in our midst, Linda Leopold, who's down at the plant. She's assumed the presidency of PWEA.
Pennsylvania Water Environment Association.
Right.
Great.
I just want to say thank you. These vignettes are really helpful
Good.
from sitting in this position.
I think it's great that the safety has taken a little bit more emphasis. I know in conversation I had with Will earlier this week with the heat index, I understand there was some safety measures that were placed in place for our workers out in the field with working in this incredible humidity and so on and so forth.
Yeah, there's been
And,
communications that have been relayed out there in regards to the heat index.
And I like this ethics moment. I think you should try to implement this in the federal government level, Frank. Yeah,
I would say here.
yeah, right.
Be a longer title.
It'll be a longer tail, but anyway.
Loaned executive.
Yeah. All right, very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right, we'll move to our last report, Chief Executive Officer's report. Will?
Thank you, Chair Shuley, members of the board, members of the public, and our contracting and consulting community here with us and online, and PWSA staff too. Hope everyone is having a great summer. I want to build upon Frank's kudos and gratitude for that session a few weekends ago. 60 people in this room, and as I understand it, the air conditioning was not on because it was a Saturday and the building management turned it on, but they still stuck through it. So they sweated through it with us, and as Frank said, it's just so essential for our contractors and consultants to be our eyes and ears with respect to safety, ethics, and compliance. So we appreciate their dedication to getting on board with our policies and our expectations. I do want to congratulate PWSA and our finance and construction team, the whole organization, on securing another PennVest award. This one, I'm very excited to say, the majority being grant, a $10 million grant and approximately $4 million low interest loan for continued lead service line replacement. So these are the dollars that we have been really aggressively seeking. And in the context of us currently undergoing a rate request from the Public Utility Commission, these are dollars that we won't have to ask in the future from our customers, which is why they are so valuable. I will also add that, you know, the work from our teams is so extraordinary. I spent a few days in Chicago this month convening with about 9 other Midwest and Great Lakes utilities. And without me even bringing it up, maybe through a little bit of self-promotion on LinkedIn, everyone wanted to talk to me about how we're getting grants. And the message was save some for us. And I said, absolutely not. They're ours, hands off. So I do just want us to thank the team. There's a lot of effort that goes on behind the scenes. There's paperwork that our board needs to sign to execute those agreements. And we're looking to build beyond the grants that we have to date to other elements of our program that we need to fund. I mentioned the rate requests. We did have 4 public input hearings that were really sponsored and administered by the Public Utility Commission, but our staff participated in. I want to thank them for participating in those, but really want to thank the public for coming out and giving their feedback on the record. That's how we're going to continue to evolve and how we do our business, and it's certainly valued. And again, the organization is committed to doing everything we can not to ask for any more than we absolutely need to ensure that we advance our mission. And everyone at PWSA is on board with that. Alex stole a little bit of my thunder on the heat, but I did, there was unscripted that he threw it out there. I do want to acknowledge our field operations staff and really everybody who has been asked to work in some poor air quality, high heat index. Unfortunately, it seems like the new normal, but I do want to recognize that our folks, especially working on emergencies, sometimes don't have the option to spend time in a cool room like this board meeting. And just please do keep them in mind on those high heat days that there's someone wearing a PWSA uniform that is out there trying to get our customers back in water, helping to serve them to make sure that they have clean drinking water and safe and reliable sewer services and stormwater services. Finally, on a somewhat sad note for me personally, but really a happy recognition, I want to mention that we have a retirement. Kelly Morgano, who is currently our Senior Manager of Human Resources, is officially retiring next week after 20 years serving the Pittsburgh Water and Sewer Authority. Kelly is one of the first people I met at PWSA, running me through my orientation when I was, I love to say this, I was a temporary employee. So she was telling me about the benefits I wouldn't get at the time, but did it with a positive attitude and really just an infectious positivity that she has maintained throughout her time at PWSA. She was my hallway mate for several years when I was working on public affairs, and she and I spent a lot of late nights. It was just the two of us in that hall, and she maintained that dedication over the last few years in her, like I said, her current role as Senior Manager of Human Resources. Human Resources is often seen as, Kelly would sometimes lament, seen as the bad guy, the police. You're coming to them when you have a problem. But Kelly always did it the right way. She made sure that everyone was treated fairly, with respect, and that all sides were heard. So Kelly, I believe you're tuned in. I wish you the absolute best in your retirement. I know I'll have that opportunity to see you in person, but Please do, if folks have an opportunity to see or come into contact with Kelly in the next year or next week. I wish it was another year with us at PWSA. Thank her for her service to PWSA. And with that, I will wrap up my remarks and happy to answer any questions folks may have.
Any questions or comments for Will?
I just would like to make a comment in regards to the rate increases. I'm listening to Will. And just to say sort of formally in this setting that the staff has done a great job of keeping the board informed of the process and the need and the numbers behind the rate increase, but most importantly, how it all relates to the mission of continuing to provide clean water to those who live in our region. And we also understand that increases are always difficult, but feel completely comfortable that these are going to be used to continue the mission, but then also to continue the capital improvements in the system. So I just want to make sure that it's clear that the board is behind, well, I shouldn't speak for the board, but I'm going to assume that I can speak for the board, and that the staff has done a great job of keeping us informed along the way.
Thank you.
Thank you, BJ. I'd like to pass my congratulations and best wishes to Kelly as well. I had the pleasure of working with Kelly when I was here as a consultant, and she had the uncanny ability to find whatever I was asking for, immediately at her fingertips. But her office was filled with papers and her phone was constantly ringing. And I always had a great appreciation for the kind of work that she was doing. I don't even think we had the complete complement of staff that we have now. So Kelly, if you're out there, congratulations. Take care. I'll see you at St. Raphael's at the next mass. So be good. The other thing, I think, Will, would you like to talk about the governor's visit on coming up soon?
Sure. So we have been asked to host a press event that is scheduled to happen on Monday morning. The governor is going to be announcing a workforce development related executive order. And we are happy to host that at a PWSA lead service line replacement site. So we're really excited to have the governor and his team in our midst, and excited that they reached out to us as a positive example of infrastructure investment and all of the many benefits that they have for our community and our state, which include the jobs that are created.
Great. Thank you. Any other comments, questions for Will? All right, we'll move to resolutions. We have a relatively short agenda, 3 resolutions. Start with resolution number 45. Will? Or Jen, I'm
Jen.
sorry. Will's name's on here. But Jen, you've got the podium.
Well, thank you very much. Good morning, Chair Shuley and members of the PWSA board. Resolution 45 is requesting the board's approval to enter into an operations and maintenance agreement with Reserve Township. Under this agreement, PWSA will operate and maintain their water and wastewater systems, and Reserve Township will remain the owner. Staff recommends authorization of this agreement.
Thank you. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Jim. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Peg. Any discussion? Well, I know this has been a long time coming, Jen. You put a lot of hard work into this, so along with other staff members, finance team and so forth. And we're happy to see this moving forward. And I think it's great that we're able to potentially serve a whole group of new customers. So hopefully we'll get this approved through the PUC and move on. But so great job of getting it to this point.
Thank you.
All those in favor of resolution number 45, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, resolution number 45 is approved. Resolution number 46, Mr. Barca.
Resolution number 46, authorizing the financial assistance application and a letter of no prejudice to be submitted to the Pennsylvania Infrastructure Investment Authority, otherwise known as PennVest, for the 2022 small diameter water main replacement project in the aggregate amount of $37,320,540.
Very good. Thank you. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thanks, BJ. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Jim. Any discussion?
I have a question. I've probably seen this before and I should probably know the answer, but can you briefly explain what a letter of no prejudice is?
It allows us to start the application process and the bidding work and even potentially construction ahead of actually submitting the application.
Okay,
It's a formality in their process to submit the application. It just gives us more flexibility.
thanks.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of resolution number 46, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Are there any opposed? Any abstentions? Resolution number 46 is approved. Resolution number 47, Mr. King. Boy, you got off easy today. You only have one resolution, you know?
I'll see if I can at least make it past the 10:30 mark. So, resolution number 47 is a request for the board's approval of the amendment to the 2021 Direct Energy Business Commodity Master and Professional Services Agreement for wind energy power purchase amendment to extend the contract expiration from 2026 to 2029. This amendment to the original direct energy agreement is required to align the contract term end date with requirements of this new wind energy supplier. Note that this purchase of over 61,000 megawatt hours of wind power per year is approximately 40% of the total electrical load that the WPEC is procuring. And the total load, PWSA accounts for the largest share at a total of the 30% of the total load that is utilized by the WPEC. This amendment will position WPEC and PWSA much closer to our clean energy goals as outlined in the City of Pittsburgh Climate Action Plan. Staff recommends that the board approve this amendment.
Thank you. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thanks, Peg. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Jim. Any discussion?
I was intrigued by this. This is the first I think I've heard about this and so kudos. This is very forward thinking.
How do the rates compare to?
I'll
right,
invite
here we
James
go.
to get a little more
Okay, look at
specific
James
to
up
the
there. You
actual
get-
rates. James has been involved in this. PWSA has been a member of WPEC since 2008. James has been a
Yeah.
long-term
Welcome, James. Yeah.
participant.
Good
Good morning,
to-
everybody.
Good to see you again.
As far as your question on the rates, they're roughly about half a cent more than regular, what we call brown power right now. So the opportunity is presented itself at a really good time as far as market pricing. So, and actually, since we first started looking at this and negotiating this amendment, prices on wind power have dropped by about 10%. So it's even a little bit lower than we're expecting. So at the time of signing the contract, as soon as we get this thing rolling, we should be in really good shape there. And it'll be very close. It's still a little bit more than regular brown
Right.
power, but I think the offset, with the green power is worth what we're getting.
Where are the facilities?
The facility is in Southeast Ohio. Well, sort of like mid-South Ohio, actually.
Okay.
So it is within the PJM energy grid, which is what we're part of, the Pennsylvania, Maryland, and New Jersey grid.
Right.
So it's about as local as we're going to find right now as far as something being available.
Interesting. All right. Thank you very much. Any comments, questions for Jim or Barry? Thank you.
Thank you.
All those in favor of resolution number 47, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, resolution number 47 is approved. That concludes the resolutions. Does anyone else have any business to come before the board? Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
All right. Meeting is adjourned.
Case study.